It's thought that just 1.5% of today's new workers will experience what your grandparents had, a job for life. I mean, wow. Think about that for a second. That is a completely staggering statistic that just shatters everything we thought we knew about career longevity. The old rulebook? Yeah, it's totally been thrown out the window. Today, the average worker is actually projected to have 9 different jobs over a 50-year career, and that includes at least one total ground-up career change.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic that impacts literally every single one of us, navigating the modern career journey. We're going to dive deep into the data and the theory to uncover exactly how work structures, professional development, and the very ways we measure success are radically evolving right beneath our feet. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the end of the traditional ladder. Then, the shape-shifting career. Third, we'll redefine career success. Fourth, we'll look at the roadblocks, meaning bias and barriers. And finally, the tools you need for the journey. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The end of the ladder and our shifting paths. For the longest time, the traditional bounded career was the absolute gold standard. It was defined by this strictly linear upward rise within a single organization or profession. You know the drill. You start at step 1, right at entry level, and you just keep grinding and moving up the rungs. Associate, lead, manager, senior leader. In this old model, the organization basically manages your career for you. They provide the training, the opportunities, and in return, well, you get steady long-term advancement in both status and a paycheck. It's the classic job for life model. But as we just saw, it is rapidly disappearing.
So what's replacing it? Well, enter the boundaryless career. If the old bounded career relied heavily on traditional corporate structures, the boundaryless career is all about independence. In this new world, your marketability doesn't just come from your current employer. It's sustained by your outside networks and your own industry insights. Now, this involves a ton of physical mobility, like moving between different roles, jumping to new organizations, or even pivoting to entirely different industries. But honestly, it also demands psychological mobility. You really have to be comfortable deviating from expectations and understanding that your path might go up, down, or completely sideways. You're no longer boxed in by those old restraints.
Moving on to Section 2. The shape-shifting career, or becoming protean.
Now, the protean career is a fascinating concept. It actually takes its name from Proteus, the Greek god who could change his physical form at will. And honestly, it is such a sticky, perfect way to remember this idea. A modern career has to be flexible, dynamic, and totally adaptable to shifting environments. But the most crucial part here, this career is managed entirely by you, the individual, not the HR department.
Let's break down the core traits of someone actually walking this protean path. First up, it is self-designed. You are firmly in the driver's seat of your own continuous learning. Second, it's values first, not status first. You're making choices based on what genuinely matters to you, not just what comes with a fancy new title. Third, it is highly nonlinear. It completely embraces lateral moves, strategic pivots, and yeah, even career breaks. And finally, it's identity-driven. Success on this path is determined by your own internal, authentic measures as you navigate between different jobs. Which brings us to Section 3, redefining career success and finding the destination.
So what exactly are we aiming for? The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the stark difference between objective and subjective career success. Objective career success, or OCS, is everything tangible and verifiable. Think of your salary, your level in the hierarchy, the number of promotions you've racked up, or the size of your budget. Subjective career success, or SCS, is entirely psychological. It's your own internal evaluation of your professional life. We're talking about your personal sense of pride, accomplishment, and genuine job satisfaction. And here is the kicker. The research consistently shows that these two are actually only modestly related.
Consider this scenario for a second. Imagine a CEO boasting about leading a Fortune 500 company. I mean, that is incredibly high objective success, right? But then imagine he admits that his family barely knows him, his employees absolutely hate him, and even his pets despise him. It really highlights the point. If you have all the money and flashy titles in the world, but it costs you your family or your own internal sense of self-worth, your subjective success is going to be rock bottom. All that objective success just doesn't guarantee psychological fulfillment.
So how do we actually find that psychological fulfillment? Well, Ross's Meaningful Work Matrix is an amazing tool that explains how we make sense of our jobs. It basically maps out 2 axes. First, are you driven by a desire for agency, meaning self-enhancement and control, or communion, which is all about connection? And second, is your focus self-oriented or other-oriented? This creates 4 very distinct pathways to finding meaning. If you're self-oriented and crave agency, you seek individuation, which means actions that prove your personal value. If you want agency but are other-oriented, you're looking for contribution, doing work in service of something way bigger than yourself. If you desire communion and are self-oriented, you want self-connection, basically work that perfectly aligns with your authentic identity. And finally, if you desire communion and are other-oriented, you seek unification, actions that bring you into harmony with others. Understanding exactly where you fall in this metrics, that is a massive step toward defining your own subjective success.
All right, Section 4, Roadblocks, Bias, and Barriers.
Now, we have to look at the systemic realities of this journey because the objective data paints a pretty stark picture regarding gender and career success at the highest levels. Currently, only 1 in 20 CEOs are women, and women lead only 7.4% of Fortune 500 companies. On top of that, across various countries, the data clearly shows that women, on average, earn about 20% less than men. So we have to ask, what does the academic literature say about why this massive gap in objective success actually exists?
The first major concept researchers point to is the glass ceiling. This is essentially an unseen, yet very real barrier that keeps women and minorities from advancing to those upper corporate rungs, completely regardless of their actual education or qualifications. But why is it there? Well, one prominent explanation in the literature is role congruity theory. This theory suggests that people hold these deeply entrenched, almost unconscious mental models of what a leader is supposed to look like. And those models are very often dominated by traditionally masculine traits. When the characteristics of traditional female roles contrast with what people expect of a leader, it creates prejudice. Basically, unconscious stereotypes heavily influence whether decision-makers believe someone fits a leadership role.
And then there is the absolutely fascinating glass cliff phenomenon. Over the years, some critics have pointed out that companies led by women sometimes perform poorly. But when researchers actually dug into the data, they found something incredibly revealing. Those companies were usually already failing. The glass cliff occurs when women are preferentially selected for really precarious, challenging leadership positions during a major crisis. It's essentially being asked to board a sinking ship. The prevailing mindset often becomes, think crisis, think female, because traits associated with managing people through tough emotional times become highly desired. Yet, remarkably, the objective data also shows that female CEOs who take on these incredibly tough roles are actually 40% less likely to face turnover after their appointment compared to male CEOs.
Bringing us to our final section, Section 5, Tools for the Journey and Getting Support.
Let's talk about the fuel for your career engine. What are the concrete support mechanisms you should actually be asking for at work? The literature broadly categorizes these into 3 buckets. First up is informational support. You absolutely need access to clear performance appraisals, transparent career paths, and real succession planning. Second is developmental support. You should be actively seeking out external seminars, pushing for lateral moves, and asking for job enrichment that builds up your own human capital. And third is relational support. This includes finding strong mentoring, getting career counseling, and tapping into networking opportunities. These are not just nice-to-haves, folks. They are absolutely essential for forward momentum. In fact, if you want a prime example of just how crucial those relational resources really are, look at this specific research finding. A major meta-analysis shows that simply maintaining internal organizational contacts makes you significantly more likely to experience steeper salary growth over a 3-year period. Your social capital literally directly influences your objective career success. So do not skip those networking events. We've covered a lot today. The fading of that old traditional ladder, the rise of the dynamic, shape-shifting protean career, the very deep difference between a paycheck and true psychological fulfillment, and of course, the systemic barriers that still stand in the way. So, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative question to ask yourself today. Are you stubbornly climbing a traditional ladder you don't even really care about? Or are you actively designing a shape-shifting career built entirely on your own personal definition of success? The tools are right there in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning your path.